I'd love to answer some of your questions. I'd love to answer questions, and please don't think that there's any stupid question, because there isn't.
Hello?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for sharing everything that you just informed us with. It's very beneficial.
Thank you.
One of my issues I just had about a year ago, I had a difficult flight, and now I have anxiety of flying.
Okay, so, that's, what are you telling yourself when you get on the plane?
I don't want to put any thoughts in other people's heads,
Yeah,
but ultimately that something bad will happen.
Something bad's going to happen. So, of course, that's going to create anxiety.
Correct.
Now, you see, the fact that you had anxiety then, I also want to suggest, we bring a lot of modalities into inner bonding. It's a six-step process, but we bring a lot of other things in. You had some trauma then.
Yes.
Which created the anxiety. So there's some wonderful trauma therapies, and I want to suggest that you look into, there's two self-help ones that are really excellent. One is called EFT, the Emotional Freedom Technique, and it's a form of tapping on the acupuncture meridians to release the trauma out of your body. And the other is called TRE, which is Trauma Release Exercises. And these are exercises, the research indicates that when we have trauma in our body, and if we don't run or fight, it gets stored inside, and we're supposed to shake. We're supposed to shake when we're traumatized, and if we don't, it gets stuck, and it gets activated. So I want to suggest that you get the book, The Revolutionary Trauma Release Process, learn the exercises. They're very simple. You can learn EFT online. And then there's other forms of therapy like somatic experiencing, SE, but you have to go to a therapist, and that can be very, very helpful, or EMDR, which is the eye movement, and that also you need to work with somebody. So I really want to suggest that along with learning inner bonding and learning to reassure yourself that you do some trauma release, because that would be very, very helpful for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh boy. Hi there.
Hi.
Awesome. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
I'm dealing with a health challenge that's pretty significant.
You're dealing with what?
A health challenge. I've got tumors in my head that are benign.
Oh, uh-huh.
It's okay. And I was working with a brand new financial investor at a bank who I thought I could fully trust. And I really feel like he betrayed my trust and took advantage of my situation, which the reason I'm asking you the question is it's put me in a very stressful situation regarding finances now. So how do I stop it from stressing my body? Because it will be handled somehow or other, but how would I stop it from stressing?
Okay, so see if you can just breathe inside right now. Just breathe inside for a minute. I'll do just very brief. Breathe inside. And so you're feeling anxiety over the situation. What are you telling yourself?
How could I let this happen? I trusted a bank. I trusted a
Okay,
broker in the bank.
so one of the things you're doing is you're judging yourself for trusting.
Okay.
And that's creating anxiety.
Okay.
But the fact is, people betray us. And we can't always know. Did you have any inkling at all?
Zero.
Zero, okay. So these people were very good at convincing you.
One person, very good.
Very good, yeah. So, sometimes we get an inkling that there's something not right, and then we ignore it, and then we beat ourselves up for that. But you had zero...
2 years later, now I got an inkling.
Yeah, now
Yes.
you got an inkling, okay. And so, and that happens a lot. We have zero. I've experienced betrayals, and I had zero indication that this was going on. So I really understand what you're going through. You need to forgive yourself, first of all, for not knowing.
Okay.
That's really, really important, to just say, I couldn't know. There was no way for me to know. And what I've had to do in these situations is I've had to open to learning about what is this here to teach me. Because I think everything that happens is part of our soul's journey. And when you open to learning about what is this here to teach you, and you really open on a deep level with your inner guidance, which is your feelings, and your higher guidance, you might get some very, very important information that will help you release the anxiety, the stress about the situation. How do you feel right now hearing that?
Much better.
Much better. Okay, good.
And another thing is with a family member, this person's always trying to tell me what to do and coming at me now from a loving place. So I take it as an attack, and now I'm more conscious because I've gone inward the last 2 years, went to raw vegan, completely changed everything I do. So I'm reacting differently on a much more conscious level.
That's great.
But, so I hear what she says, and I kind of, if I come back with something, she says, but you really need to get to work, or you need to do this.
You know, one of the things that's important to understand in interactions is that there's always two levels of the interaction. There's what you're talking about. Oh, you got to do this, you got to do that. But then there's the level of intention. And in this case, her intention is to control you, right?
It feels that way.
Feels that way. So you have to trust that. So you got to trust. When it feels like somebody's trying to control you, you just got to trust it. Take it at face value. So if somebody's trying to control you, you can't talk about the issue itself if somebody's trying to control you, because once somebody's trying to control you, they don't care what you say about it. They're just going to come back with more control. And so one of the things that's important for us to learn to do when somebody's trying to control us is to speak up for ourselves about that. And so perhaps to say something like I might say, if somebody's doing that, I might say, you know, I really appreciate you offering me advice, but I would also appreciate it if you would not offer me advice unless I ask for it. And that way, I'm stating what is important for me. I'm not available for advice unless I ask for it. Now, what do you think would happen if you said that to this person?
They would say that they don't want to be responsible for me when I'm older.
Okay, and say, okay.
It's like risky for them not to come at me because they want something to happen. Looking at that in the future, I might put myself in a very bad position.
Okay, so this person is really not so concerned about you. They're more concerned about themselves and what they're going to have to deal with.
And they may want to try to wake me up as well, who knows?
Right, and you can say, I understand that. But, you know, it's possible for them to talk to you with an intention to learn. See, that's the thing.
With an intention what?
With the intention to learn. I don't discuss things with people anymore unless I feel like they're open to learning. So, or I might move into an intention to learn, like in a situation like this, I might say, you know, it feels like you're really upset and trying to control me. There must be a good reason. I'd like to understand what's going on for you. And then see what's happening and see if you can get somewhere with that.
It's my sister, so it's like a back
Oh,
and
it's your
forth
sister.
thing,
Okay,
yes.
yeah. Well, I mean, there's those are difficult dynamics, but as you learn to tune into what is loving to you, and as you learn to open to your higher guidance and ask the question, what would be loving to me with my sister, you can get a lot of information.
What would be loving to me with my sister? Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
You're welcome. How are we doing? I think I can take another question, yes.
Thank you so much for the value you've brought to us today.
Oh, you're welcome.
And this
Thank you.
paper, excellent too. I feel like what you're sharing with us is that we come into this world as free spirits, free children, and then we get layered upon layers of prejudice and fear and hate and shame and all this stuff
Right.
that adults lay on us. And then you know, like say you hit this teenage, middle age, whatever it is, crisis type thing. And now you're saying that we can become that free child
Yes, we
again.
can.
And I guess we need to stand up for ourselves and
Right.
developed all these tools and skills so
Right.
we can, I guess we can live in, possibly, I guess we can live in a negative world that seems to operate on a lot of negativity and a lot of,
Yeah, but you know, the more people do this, the more people do their own inner work, the more we raise the frequency of the entire planet.
right,
It's so important to be doing that.
right. Yeah, I feel that we can affect all those around us because, like I said, I find people around me so serious about just all the things going on and the alcohol and drugs and all
Right,
the addiction.
right.
So trying to I guess have to free myself so I can possibly be a
Yeah,
key
see,
to free
you know, the
them,
best thing is to be a role
free
model.
yourself. Right.
Not to try and get other people to change, but to become a role model for loving ourselves and living in joy and living in
Yeah.
peace and caring about others. That's the way we can have the biggest effect on the world.
Right. Yeah. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Really, really awesome. I've done a lot of inner work. I've done a lot of modalities in healing myself. I didn't walk for several years, and now I walk without assistance and
That's
stuff.
great.
But I've come through a period of time that's kind of strange for me. Now, I'm not a smoker. I've never been a smoker, but all of a sudden, I seem to be attracting to myself smokers, and it's like really eating at me. You know, it's beginning to like irritate me. You know, it's like, I don't want to see another smoker. I don't, you know. So that's kind of like the inner thought, inner talk that's beginning to occur.
Well, but
in my
but
dialogue.
maybe the challenge is for you to learn how to stand up for yourself in the face of that. I mean, you know, there's always some reason that something is being brought to us, and maybe the challenge is for you, instead of getting upset, to just, okay, what do I need to do to take care of myself in the face of somebody smoking? And to really ask that question of your higher self. What would be loving to me in the face of somebody smoking?
Yeah, I generally will say, can you smoke somewhere else, please?
Yeah, but you see, when you're telling them to smoke somewhere else, you're trying to control them.
Okay.
What this is about is what we can do. What can I do if I'm with somebody who's smoking? Maybe I'll go somewhere else, or I'll say to them, you know, I just don't like being around smoke, so I'm going to go in another room, or I'm going to go outside. That's what I can do, rather than telling them what to do.
Gotcha.
Okay?
All right.
Okay, thank you. There's one more here.
Thank you for this. It's all very logical, and I've seen a lot of this before. I think for me, the part where I have, maybe you have some tips and tricks, but a lot of it is very logical, where you say, yes, I need to be better to myself, I need to eat healthier, or I need to be less stressed, or, you know, if I'm blaming myself. But the action part, that for me is a difficult part. Do you have any tips and tricks on
but you see,
how can you stop yourself from, you know, sometimes you're really tired, you come home from work, and
No,
you know
I
you should do
understand. I
sports,
understand.
and you're sitting on the couch, and instead of going up and do sport, how can you make or
okay. You
lead
see,
yourself to do the
inner
action?
Inner
Yeah.
bonding is not about forcing yourself to do it. If you come home and you've decided, oh, you know, I should go out and exercise, but you don't want to, then you do an inner bonding process. You go inside to the part of you who doesn't want to, and you explore that. What is the resistance? Where does it come from? What am I afraid of? What am I telling myself? What do I really need? And you do a deep exploration about why you don't want to. You go fully into the resistance. Resistance is a big issue. I didn't even get much into that, but that's a whole topic in itself, is resistance. We have a lot on our website about resistance, so you might want to read some of the free articles on that. But we don't bypass it. We don't push through it. We don't force ourselves. We go into it. We embrace it. We understand that we always have good reasons for resisting, and we explore it with a deep and compassionate intention to learn. And as you do that, you will uncover the false beliefs that are causing you to be in resistance. And that opens up the space to moving yourself towards doing what's truly loving to yourself.
But some of these things are also quite habit and really intrinsically ingrained almost in your how
Yes, they
how do you
are.
stop from
You know, what I want to encourage you to do is start to practice inner bonding, because you will find, I had tons of bad habits before I practiced inner bonding, and they're gone. I don't have them. So it's the practice itself. The practice of inner bonding develops your loving adult self. It you know, actually, I'm glad you asked this, because one of the things I want to tell everybody is that as you practice inner bonding, you are actually creating new neural pathways in your higher brain. These habits are in your lower brain, but with the practice of inner bonding, you're developing new neural pathways that you start to turn to, new habits. And so it's the practice itself of these 6 steps that allows you the freedom, that gives you the freedom to now break out of the old habits and into new ones. Okay, we got to move on. Pardon me? It's innerbonding.com. Thank you all so much. I've really enjoyed you. Thank you. Blessings to all of you.